Hey folks, Eric here on the 9th of May. I'm sending this out to premium and elite members, sort of an informal but firm recommendation. Um, the biggest thing that I deal with in this business, with having many, many different types of people that receive the messages, all I can do is my best in terms of A, finding deals, taking my assessments after 29 years in the markets, and providing value by finding things, time researching, by hearing of things with contacts, with seeing things, with technical triggers that come to me, with third party research that I've gotten a very, tight group with, everything from macro down to the resources. There are folks that I trust and get some good ideas from, um, to condense all the time that it takes me to do my own homework online. And essentially, I want to work from the top down really quickly with you guys. And I'm going to give you an example, and you can say, you can believe the situation the way that I'm seeing it, or you can just blow it off. But if you remember, I'm not even going to go back to 2020 with crypto. Okay. I just, I will briefly, I went hard pushing everybody to get some exposure. I was talking to an elite member the other day, and he had taken his toe and dipped it in back then, and he was looking at the fact that he owns Ethereum at $200 because at that time that's where it was. So that's up 20x or so from there, 15, 20x, 25x at the highs. Um, but then we also had the late 2022 lows where the news was terrible. And, many of you then and going into early January 2023, I had put out multiple notes and videos saying now is the time to deploy emergency cash into Bitcoin, ETH, and other tokens. The market has bottomed. I've made, I think that it's clear I've made the most money speculating by making pretty big bets when things are not, they're always not clear when you're going to make the best risk reward, right? We have a very interesting opportunity percolating in the metals and miners right now. People are waiting for pullbacks, and I don't think they're going to happen. You could look at, I'll look at both sides. So I'm giving you the analogy that this is late 22, November, December 22, January 23. Me saying you better get money, deploy capital, deploy capital, just deploy capital. I don't care what you do. If it's just Bitcoin or whatever, just get money to work in the sector. And that has paid off well. You could look at the fact that, I mean, there were many of us that were off. I was off, where I thought that the juniors, and even the seniors, but that these stocks would start to move up in January this year because of how destroyed they were for over 3 years, now over 3.5 years. We're coming up on 4 years since the bear market started and ravaged, many of them still ravaged a lot of the junior miners. Um, but, you know, so what? It took a few months extra, and it made us wait a little longer, and the doubt creeps in a little further and more people give up. But again, this is a cyclical industry, but I think my real thought is, and I'm just saying what I think, you can call it hype. I'm trying to hype you up right now because I know that you guys that trust and respect at least some of my ideas or thoughts. Any monies I can get you to put to work across the sector, gold stocks, silver stocks, those are the two first ones. Then you've got things in nickel and copper and vanadium and all that stuff too. But um, gold and silver is the key. These stocks are going to start to get away from us, and they're going to get away from us fast. and you're either going to be chasing them, and this is what I deal with that gets frustrating with the letters. Even if you don't get a lot of regular updates from me, my goal for the rest of this year and going forward is that when I come out with something, written or video, you can bank on taking action with what I do recommend. I don't need to do filler stuff unless they're going to be like an update type of thing just to touch on, deals that we're already in that might not have moved yet or that could be down, no problem. But there are certain ones like this one where I'm telling you, you should be, I mean, what I'm doing, I've been taking, I've been taking a lot of money actually in the second half of 2023, at the end of 2023 into the Q1 24. I started chipping off the huge profits already. Bitcoin had tripled at that point, well before the ETF situation came in January from where I had bought it, the January and December prior. So I had added to my core position and that stuff, the big stuff, and I started to peel it off. And then, so I started to put it into miners and chunks, 50 grand here, 25 there, whatever. And then spread those out a lot of times into the little juniors that were just destroyed, private placements. And what I want to focus on today, guys, are the bigger caps. They're not large, large caps, but I'm going to tell you about the ones that, they're 100 million plus market cap. The biggest one is 1.5 billion, but most of these are in closer to the 100, 250, $400 million market cap area. I'm just going to give you four of them that I've been buying and loading. And so what's happened is that, I was even second guessing myself a moment here, a moment there when I was taking off, some crypto in last November, December, January, moving it into these miners, and then they just were crickets for two months. And I'm like, man, am I ever going to have this correct in terms of the timing? Because I had anticipated that we were pretty blown out. And we were. It just took a little bit of extra time. And so now all that money that I put in, where things went down a little further after that, man, am I glad I've got those big positions on, because now they're up. A lot of these you have to keep in mind in the small ones, even the big ones too, but the mid-size, but they're just going to be difficult to get good sized positions on unless you're acting when the market is down and or still much doubt involved or sideways moves, pullbacks, or when we're in between a run. Right now, I would strongly recommend that everybody who's listening to this gets overweighted in metals and mining stocks, particularly in gold and silver. Okay. Uh, these plays are just, there's some of these that are so cheap, that I'm so excited to be buying and socking away, that are totally liquid. So you could be a fund manager who's a premium member. You can be a very ultra high net worth individual, a family office, or a smaller retail investor. It doesn't matter. You can buy size in these companies and feel good about the returns, because the minimum I'm looking for on, for example, I-80, IAU in Canada, IAUX in the States, forgive my Bernese Mountain Dog snoring in the background. I've got a big position I've been able to chip away at. I'm down, I think, a few percent on my I-80 that I've continued to grab, a low six figure position in. Equinox, EQX, I-80, I'm looking at, this is a $4 to $5 US stock, um, minimum, and it's trading just above a buck. So call it a triple, if you will, because it could happen by the end of the year or first quarter of next year. There are reasons why I think it's been fledgling, but there are many reasons why it's worth so much more than it's trading at, and many reasons why the catalyst will start to come. It's also a very significant buyout candidate. Equinox EQX is digesting a purchase of the rest of one of their mines that put up a bunch of capital for that. So I think that that's the reason why Equinox, started by Ross Beatty, one of the best in the business. It just so happens that I-80 was spun out from Equinox. But there are some of these tried and true operators. The many of you are already in. Hopefully, McEwen, which has been doing very well, it's become a leading performer in the market again. Assuming you've already got that position on and some other ones, Equinox is a favorite. I think it's a bigger one. It's a $1.5 billion play. It's going to do better than GDX, GDXJ, but it's not going to do as well as a couple of the other ones that I'm going to mention because it's just bigger, but you've got much less risk as well. So EQX, I continue to buy it under anything under like 560 US. Do the math, it's like seven and change Canadian. I-80, anything under a buck 40 US, is a very aggressive buy. And you want to have some people that I speak to, like, you guys will go all in on like one or two plays, and they're, junior mining plays, and it's like just like with crypto, I've always said have half of your position in just Bitcoin and Ethereum, at least. And then, start branching off into not even just the shit coins, but like the mid caps have another 20-25%. And then with the last 20%, 25%, go roll the dice, with some little altcoins. And that can pay off huge. But if you're thinking about this stuff as some sort of savior, any one particular stock or crypto or whatever, it's going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to happen. And in fact, you're probably going to make really bad decisions being so heavily weighted in something because things come up in life, they come up in the markets. And I've had it happen to me, too many times in the past where I was forced to sell things when I wanted to buy them. And it's and then had to buy them when I probably should have been selling. Uh, but I will tell you that my timing has gotten generally I stretch it out a little bit. But it doesn't matter. It's like I look at it like a painter, you've got to be in the ballpark sort of on the lows and in the ballpark on the highs. And you're never going to pick the top or the bottom. And it doesn't matter. But there's all these factors here that I'm going to try to help with in this bull market with portfolio and risk management, swing trades up the butt. I mean, there's going to be a lot of them on top of, core positions. But I really would encourage you guys, Equinox I-80. I also for Silver Corp, SVM, which is now what is it back at? Let me just check real quick. It was up to yesterday, today. I think it's three. No, that's not it here. Come on. Silver Corp, SVM, back to 350. It had a high of 4 recently, so it's off of that. It went from 4 down to 320. And before that, it was in the, just trading in the low to the high twos for a while. Where was this one before? I do have a target. A minimum target on this that I have is $9. Call it 850 US. So about a triple, I'll sell probably stock. I'll take a third off over $8, just to take most of my principal off. But that's why I feel more comfortable in these type of situations. I go heavy now so that when I'm taking a piece off and most of my risk is in cash, then I still have a big position with very low risk on my principal or none. Silver Corp is definitely a cheap play on silver, and they're a producer. They're growing, and I think it's very undervalued and it's liquid. The last one, guess what? I've been buying hand over fist the last couple of months, and I started slow. And then I was buying it initially after I got off a call with the John Paulson's main analyst, and because they're a big owner in International Tower Hill, which you've heard me talk about before. That thing went all the way down to the 30s US. And I remember I told them I had started buying it about a week earlier and I was getting an update from them about what was going on. And essentially I started to buy more in the high 30s. And then all of a sudden it just took off. This is a few months ago, and it went into like the 50s or 60 cents. And I'm like, darn, I only got a modest position, but at least I got some on very cheap. Recently, I re-looked at it and did go look at the PowerPoint, go look at the numbers on this thing. The price of gold in the ground for reserves, THM, ITH in Canada. This is one of those plays that is has always been a levered bet on higher gold prices, where we get into the 2,500 and up level. This becomes a viable project, and it's enormous. It's enormous. And I look at it and I look through all the details again, and I'm thinking about the fact that right now it's at 66 cents USD, $135 million market cap. I'm going to try to look real quick in terms of their I'm going to look for their cash position, see what the enterprise value is, but 135 million for what they have. It's pretty crazy. I see that I've looked recently because it's already clicked here on CDAR. And where's the latest one? Annual financial statements. Here we go. Let's look at what we have got on the books. Bit of a complicated release here. They don't just list the cash at the top like they normally do. Anyway, I'll circle back on that, but I know that they've got cash. I should be able to find it here. They went into their consolidated numbers. Okay, so at the end of the year, they had about 2 million in cash, and it's a modest burn. I might even have to call them and see if we can take a placement. I should. I will, because they could probably use some cash soon, and maybe they'll do a small round at these prices. Paulson owns a lot of it. They've got some big investors that hold this thing down. So yeah, on THM, if you can get some of this bad boy and just chip away, it's not all that liquid actually. It's a lot of it's tied up, but up to like 70 cents US. Let's see where we in the weekly should go back to pretty easily, should go back to like 115, 120. But we know that, actually in 2021, when I put that Real Vision piece out, the thing went from like 50 in a really quick fashion. But this used to be over a $10 stock in the 2011 timeframe. I think where it's going to go is minimum of 3 to 350 in this run. That's a big return. That's like 5x, 4x, 6x, somewhere in there. But you have to buy these things and sell them wisely, guys. Like in the sense of, there's a good amount of people and a good amount of buying power listening to this. So like if a few people are going in and buying and it starts to move up too much, just chill out. Sit back, cool out. We don't want to bring a bunch of competition between us. THM International Tower Hill probably is the hardest one to buy because of the it's just very tight. But Equinox, I-80, have at it. Just go in there. I mean, you can buy $1 million worth without a problem, without driving it way up on either of those. And even SVM, a little bit, probably in the middle of I-80 and THM in terms of its liquidity, but it'd be tougher for us to really crank it up. Certainly uh, tougher than THM, ITH. So those are four right now. And I just also wanted to make two quick comments on Giga and Phenom. Giga, a lot of people, it's like you got to sell something to buy something or whatever. And I hear people talking about like, there's been a couple of calls recently. I've been thinking about dumping Giga to buy more Phenom. And I'm like, how much Phenom do you have? And they're like, 70% of my portfolio. I'm like, well, I appreciate the confidence, but that's retarded. It's foolish for any stock, any token, any one investment. It is very risky. I don't care how bullish I am on Phenom. Um, it's just crazy. It's just greedy. You're susceptible to making bad decisions because even if it goes up a lot, some people just keep buying on the way up and thinking they're going to go up forever. Giga is very cheap, uh, very cheap. I still like nickel and copper quite a bit. At $8, $8.50 nickel, we get around 9 or 10. Giga's going to start moving. It'll get back into the 30s easily. And I still think this is probably one of the easiest five baggers plus that I've ever seen from these prices. Like it's just stupid. These Turnigan assets, the things like this big, this advanced, um, they're not laying around everywhere, guys. They're not around, there's not a lot of these things around and somebody's gonna buy them. They'll get bought out. See one more stake partner that comes in, then the buyout, or we just might. I don't think it's going to get bought out now because my message to management teams are you better not sell this freaking thing now, or don't even come close unless you're going to get an incredible premium. Um, because we've waited this long. We should wait until they are desperate, and we're seeing corporate FOMO in these sectors, and that's what we are going to see. My take, what I was going to say earlier, is we could be walking into the biggest bull market in metals and mining stock history. Maybe not. Doesn't even matter. If we have an average bull market, we're going to make a fortune on a lot of these stocks. But I think it could be very, very big. Dynamics are all there. They're all there. And then on Phenom, this is what I would say. If you're overloaded in Phenom, like it's way too, it's a big part of your portfolio, don't keep buying more. It's a prudent thing if it's your biggest position and it's way out of whack. Just chill. You know what I mean? I mean, chill out. There is a possibility it pulls back again. Although I will say, for those of you that have sort of brushed this play off and you don't have any or you don't have much, you better get on the train pretty damn quick. So it's a matter of personal, risk appropriation and tolerance. I don't know that it goes much below 45 cents Canadian on a pullback. It's like low 50s right now because I do have several enormous buyers waiting for any pullback into the 40s. Enormous buyers that will buy everything. Not even me. I'm not even talking about myself. I'm talking about new juice because this story is going to get very, very, very exciting. And I've alluded and been cryptic about this, but I can't say more. You can trust the fact that I'm not just pumping up my premium and elite members. It's not my job with you guys. I try to get things, appropriately positioned and featured at prices that are appropriate. If you're light on Phenom, you can buy as much as you want up to 55, 60 cents Canadian. It's probably, we knew there was going to be a little resistance in the mid 50s. The next place is 80 cents. That's going to be resistance. That's where it'll go next. And then that could be one that's going to take a little longer to break through. And then we're $2. And then through $2, God knows where it could go. And there's a lot of meat on the bone with what I know is transpiring. But again, nothing is done until it's done. And somebody was speculating on a recent video when I talked about their last news release or something, that was what I was inferring was like this big news. When what I'm talking about and what I'm thinking about and what I know about that is percolating in the background, that could still take another 1 or 2 months to have a definitive agreement where we can name the partners that are involved in the terms and everything else. 4 to 6 weeks maybe. I said that before, and I'll say that again. These things take a little time to get to be definitive. I'd rather be conservative, but it doesn't matter. It's moving in the right direction, and much of the risk of something not happening, in my opinion, is out of the way. So when that, if and when that happens, guys, you'll know what I was talking about. It's not going to be some little, you know, bullshit announcement about this or that. It's going to be, and I will come out then, and believe me, I will talk about the impact that this will have on Phenom going for years and years. Uh, but until then, the cool thing is that looks like we're going into a bull. We are in a bull, not necessarily in vanadium yet. I mean, once vanadium catches any sort of a bid, forget about it. We are a preeminent vanadium play, but in the meantime, we're building a world-class Nevada gold exploration portfolio that will spin out into a new company at the right time, which could be sooner than later if this other particular deal lands and sticks, then it's going to be required to spin out a vanadium sole company. But just the junior gold piece and all the stuff that we've got going on there with Dave Matheson leading the way on vetting these deals and upcoming drilling and work at Dobbin, Crescent Valley. Those could be huge discoveries, and they're not going to be as expensive to drill as going deep at Carlin. So, am I talking out of two sides of my mouth? No. I mean, listen, I'm incredibly bullish on Phenom still, but I just want to caution people that are already very overweighted, not only in Phenom, but if it's something else that you own somewhere else, you just fell in love and you got married to one particular situation and you've got like, half or more of your investable assets in any one investment, it's not wise. It is not wise. And so I just want to caution those people. You don't need to keep being, just pure greed at this point. If you're continuing to buy and you've already got so much of your own money in it, you're going to make enough. Um, if you don't have any, it's still my top pick and position. And, you know, I think there's going to be people, a lot of people on the free list, but I hope it's not with the elite and the premium members. I think a lot of you have come along with me on this and believe in the story, and a lot of free e-letter members too, that are sticking with it, which is great. And I really appreciate it when I hear that, this is everybody, not everybody, but a bunch of people's largest positions as well as it is with mine in a major way. Mine's way out of whack. I have way too much money in Phenom, but I have a lot of other assets, a lot of other diverse assets, a lot of other companies. I don't know the percentage of my net worth, but if it went to zero, I wouldn't be sitting in a gutter. So, but yeah, no, it's an oversized bet. But another thing to consider, I just had 1 million warrants roll off of my position because they didn't extend the warrants at 55 cents that just expired, which actually Rob McEwen that's when he first came in at 40 cents. So there's almost 6.5, 7 million warrants that are not going to be. This is, I gave my opinion. Paul took the information in. I said, look, I'm against all these companies that keep extending warrants because the people that are going to sell them are going to just start flipping it at 65, 70, 75 cents. And it's going to take an extra 2 months to chew through getting through 80 because people are flipping it to get in at 55. If you want the money, just raise a new round at 50 or 55 or whatever. And if it's below 55 and you were a warrant holder, then you can buy more because it's cheaper than what you would have paid if you would have exercised your warrants. That makes sense to me. So if Phenom is not a major position in your portfolio, I think it's still a very strong buy under 55, 60 cents Canadian. But again, I'm cautioning those of you that are very deep in it. I just want to be careful that nobody's being reckless. Okay. There are a lot of other good opportunities, a lot of other amazing opportunities that are out there. So don't get pigeonholed into just hoping, like if you're waking up and the first thing you check is one particular stock and you're looking at it all day, or you're in crypto and you're looking every 5 minutes, it's not a good thing. I've been there, but it's usually out of a place of more of a gambler's mentality versus just being a winner, being a phenom, being a champion, being someone who always makes money in capital markets. I knock on wood, but I believe I'm there. I tend to make money consistently in various markets, even if there are big dips in between. The major themes right now, I am very pleased that at least 80%, 85% of my investable assets are split between metals and mining companies and crypto, because both are going to fly right in our face. I hope there's more of a sideways consolidation in Bitcoin, but I don't think that'll last long. So for those of you that haven't gotten involved there, even at 60,000. I mean, I started talking about Bitcoin here at 500 bucks in 2016 and started pounding the table, when it was in under 5 grand, for a long time. But look, it's still early in the bull cycle period, typically for Bitcoin. It's still early in long-term adoption cycle. So there's going to be more of these boom busts, but they're going to become less and less. This could be the last, run where we see like shocking returns in crypto. Um, but yeah, everybody should own some Bitcoin. You should own some. Everybody should. If we're gold investors, that's another thing. Physical gold, still the safest place for my capital anywhere in the world. And that's it for today, guys. But I would tell you, I'm just relaying my bullishness in general. I think that I talk about this a lot, but it's a big deal. Recency bias. We think what has been happening in the recent past is going to continue into the near future. After 3.5 years of a down market and a lot of these juniors that are crushed, I love the fact that you go to conferences, you talk to CEOs, you talk to investors. There's very few of us that are as bulled up as I am, and as some others that are, I think, some of the smarter members that we have, and some of the smarter friends that I have, and some of the smartest investors in the world that I know. But it's a minority. When everybody's in and coming in and going in, that's when we have the challenge of when the ducks are quacking, feed the ducks. I think it was Juicer who said that. I like that analogy, but that's a ways away. So my message today is deploy capital, put cash to work, put cash to work in some of these stocks where you're not going to see something that's going to go bankrupt. You're not going to get cut in half from here on these plays. And you're going to get a very substantial return in the next 12 to 24 months. And I think it's important that we have those along with, these big junior positions. The next one that I come out with, I will talk more about some of the juniors and the ones that I'm still heavily buying and those in the venture list and things of that nature. So I'm not neglecting those, nor saying that I'm not way heavy in many of them. I am, but I also like having, you know, First Majestic, a big position there, and an I-80 and Equinox and all these other ones. And then I have call long-term leaps on some of those things. And McEwen Copper, I have a lot of money in that. That's still private and has basically tripled in value. And we'll see what happens if he ends up selling it or listing it. But that was a $250,000 minimum US. Um, so I like having the plays where that it's the best in the world that are running them, and you're going to get new ideas from me that will be a mixture of small special situations that are very cheap that could just fly to the moon in a bull market, and you're going to get other ones that are going to be these best of breed owned and run plays that are still very cheap and or on pullbacks. Um, you know, and some of them that are just totally neglected that, are going to not be neglected for long. So anyway, those are my ideas for today, guys. Hopefully some of you find that helpful. I think that the most important thing, somebody like me or anybody around us, if you're getting advice, or thoughts about where to put your money, the biggest thing is, can someone call a theme, call a bull market? There is a bull market ahead, or the theme and the bull market are going to be ahead. Even if you have to go through rough times, go lower first. If you find someone who's ultimately correct, and then when the outside confirmations start to come, besides my gut, and I'm watching it happen, I go like this and I push in all the way. And I'm pretty much there already with actual physical metals, mining stocks, and also with crypto. So, but I think the metals and miners are going to be the ones that could shock quicker. Actually, if we have a decent range bound number in Bitcoin, which I hope lasts a little longer, I don't think it'll last as long as people are hoping, because the demand there is, it's huge, and there's just not a lot of float, believe it or not, in something that's trading at $61,000. But there's no float on so many of these little miners. It's crazy. Most of the busts that survived this, excuse me, this brutal bear market, I'm not selling anytime soon. You think you're getting any of these small positions of mine until they're up enormously, and also the companies we have influence on. And we're not selling these deals, selling assets or anything else anytime soon. We're going to make people pay us fortunes to take these assets because we earned it by sitting through pain, suffering, and taking action when things were not clear and everybody wasn't all bulled up. We're still at that point, but we're at the precipice. It's going to start to change, and everybody's going to be bulled up, and you're going to start to see these stocks gallop higher, higher highs, higher lows, more and more and more and more, and then they're going to go parabolic. I don't care when it is. I will adapt to the market, but I think it's going to be tougher and tougher unless and until we get like a global market crash where a lot of risk assets just get sold down. Um, Barring that, it's going to be very difficult for us to buy, THM under 70, SVM under 4, IAUX under $1.40, EQX under $6. Very tough. Very tough to buy Giga under 25 cents Canadian. Very difficult to buy a Phenom under 60 cents Canadian. So anyway, that's it for today, guys. Have a great night.